Welcome, Wargamers. Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff. And one of the things that I have struggled with in this hobby for some time is coming up with a good color scheme for my miniatures. Now, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you a really cool resource, actually two resources, to be able to help you and I come up with some baller looking color schemes, okay? This is actually brought to us by a site that my wife found. She is an author, she makes her own covers, and so having color schemes that match and matching colors and complementary ones is very important to her. And so she shared this with me, being like, I think that your viewers would really, really like this because it's so awesome. There are features about it that you're gonna love. Let's go check it out. So this is the website I was talking about, Coolors, okay? And really what it is a color palette generator, okay? In tandem with another tool I'll show you in a bit, you can create some of the coolest looking color schemes ever. Now, what I would say to you is this is a wonderful tool for picking out sort of like the main colors of your faction. You don't have to go through and pick out every single minor thing like, chains or silver, that kind of stuff. We're just talking about the broad scope of just like, how power armor looks or how you want your Stormcast, what kind of complementary colors do they want. So we're going to click on the start generator here. It'll take just a second. It ain't the fastest site, but that's all right. We have this set up, and this is just showing us 5 colors that just kind of go together. For me personally, when it comes to miniatures specifically, let me hide these ads, I really like to work with 4 colors, maximum. And the reason I say that is you're going to have one color kind of be the dominant thing, mostly for like armor and stuff like that. And then the other ones are more accent colors around it. So depending on what you want to do, that's typically how it works. It depends on how detailed and how wide a swath of a palette you want to have and how many colors you want to go back in and highlight and shade and all that kind of stuff. What's cool about this is every time you press spacebar, it gives you a brand new set of palette colors, which is really nice. And they all kind of go together and they look awesome. And you can just keep doing this till your heart desires. But there are way cooler ways to use this tool. In addition to all of that, you can also click this little lock button, which means I love this color, tea green, and it will actually cycle all other colors that complement tea green, okay? And you can do that for as many as you want. Now these colors look pretty good with this combination, and you can just keep going and going and going. So again, you're just pressing spacebar to make that happen. This is immediately a huge tool for me just because it saves time. If I were to go in here, let's see, we can view the different shades. Let's say we wanted to have a Dark Angels army. So we'll do this, we'll lock it, and now we can pick out some other stuff. Light yellow might be great for like some of the symbols and iconography. Let's see, this would be really cool for having a nice pop of Alice blue. I like that color, that's a nice one. And we can just do all kinds of stuff and mix around with that. Now, where stuff gets real cool is if you go up here to more on the top right and you click pick palette from photo. So we're going to do that. It's going to take just a hot second to load. Browse an image, and I'm going to off screen on my other monitor drag and drop a very, very famous picture from John Blanche. And there we go. So we have here, we uploaded an image and it's picking the various colors related to it. Now we could basically go through and it'll pick just a few spots, kind of determining which color is the main one, but I kind of like that first one. And so this could give you your color palette for painting a Blanchitsu type of army. I actually kind of like the brown in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to export this into the generator, and voila. There we go. Now we have the colors that we need to paint cool Blanchitsu models all ready to go. So we got nice silver. Obviously, like I said before, silvers and that kind of stuff I tend to ignore. This is just a repeat. And so these are the main colors we're working for, which if you know a lot about the Blanchitsu style of painting, this looks 100% accurate. Lots of warmth. It's all warmth. There's no real blues to speak of. Let's do that again. But let's do it with, sorry about that. Let's do that again, but we're going to do it with a piece of Sylvaneth art this time. And here we go. We can see our different color palettes. This is taking the light blue from the skin of the Sylvaneth model as its main source. And you can just kind of move this thing around until you find a main source that you like. For me, I like this almost incubi darkness looking color. There we go. We can drop one of those because it was a duplicate, and we'll go back into the generator, and boom, there we are. You now have your color palette that you can use, and of course you would have some wood accents for the weapons and things like that, but that's essentially how that works. Now, what's the second tool that I'm talking about? Well, again, there's a link in the description below, but this website, I don't know anything about it. It was just sent to me randomly. It basically takes all of the colors from major paint producers, Citadel, Vallejo, the two different kinds of Vallejo, Model and Game, P3, and Army Painter, and it puts them on a chart and it gives you the hex code for them, okay? So if you don't know, white is always going to be FFFFFF, whatever. But if we look, you can actually go through and pick out paints that you have. If you are someone who, I'm just going to skip ahead and pick one randomly. If you're like me and you're like, I freaking love Thunderhawk Blue, which I do. It is actually one of my favorite paint colors. We're going to go here. We're going to highlight this, copy, and we will go back here and we will do, where's it at? There we go. And we'll paste, and boom. That is the closest we can get to a Thunderhawk Blue. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. And now that we've picked colors that we like and we own, you know, they go with our paint line that we have at home, you lock it, and now you can press space and get other ideas. If you're like, man, I really want a mostly Thunderhawk Blue model, what other colors would go well with that? This is exactly what you want to do. And so I would do bone because I think that looks really good, the two colors together. We'll move this over. What else goes? Okay, we got some pink, got some black. Black certainly would look good. Yeah, and you can just keep rotating and coming up with different color palettes. This actually looks super nice. I really like that. And it's just a cool way to really get the most out of, you can even do cool stuff for folks who are colorblind, which is really, really cool. You can view it, and then you can see all of the specs regarding the paint palette if you are trying to match this for an art project or something. It doesn't have all the applications. You know, it is an art tool first, and, you know, we're just kind of hijacking it for miniature stuff. You could, let's see, here we go. Yeah, you could pick a specific color from your color palette. This is like a quicker version of doing the color thing, but I like the options on the other one. And it's just a great way to pick out some cool colors as well as save them for later use. And so if you have an account here, it's totally free as a tool. You can actually save color palettes and give them names. So this could be a great way of, like, if you're like me and you do a lot of projects, boom, this is my color palette for my Stormcast. This is my color palette for my Slaves to Darkness, and so on. And so it can really help refresh you on how to create those colors, create those meaningful ways to, like, be able to pick up an army that you haven't painted for a while and keep at it in the same scheme. Now we can adjust it. You can, if you're trying to go for a certain effect, again, now you can adjust the hue and the saturation and the brightness, which, you know, if you put washes on stuff a lot, brightness is going to go down. So now you can see what it's going to look like in the recesses. And you just play around with all those things. So you can really get a sense of what the colors are going to look like on the miniature before you ever start putting paint on it. And if you want to, you can even view it as a gradient if you are looking to plan out how your colors blend from one to another. So if you were painting, you know, is that Thunderhawk Blue? I guess it's a different color now, but if you're painting that incubi looking color into a bone color, this is what your transition should relatively look like. So it's really helpful for people like me who I get kind of overwhelmed when it comes to, like, blending paint, because it always looks like one color, you know, kind of eats the other and the blends aren't that great. This is a wonderful way to have basically how a blend should look broadcast to you. And if you're just at a loss for what to do, they have a whole bunch of, under the Explore tab, just a whole series of different paint palettes that are already made, and they do really cool things. Some of them are obviously more geared towards, you know, housing painting and that kind of stuff, whereas others could absolutely be used for, you know, a project like we do here in the wargaming space. They also have this tool called the Collage Maker, which is sort of the same thing as picking colors out by you know, the image, you upload the image. We did our John Blanche one again. But what's nice about the Collage Maker is that it puts the image there next to it, as well as the colors that it picked out from it. So the reason it's important is if you wanted to have a binder that reminded you of your exact painting recipes and stuff like that, you could not only save the image that inspired the color palette and then have it right there, nice and clear, directly relates color to color and that kind of stuff. So you can really mess around with this however you want. Oh, the square looked way better. And you can kind of customize it and move it around however you'd like, but it allows you to basically create a custom little template so that you can save in your mind what the inspiration for your color palette was and the colors that were derived from that inspirational picture. The last thing I will add here is their color contrast checker, which essentially this is your grading system. Very good, whatever I'm saying. Does it work well for small text and large text? Awesome. Here you can pick your text color. And let's go with white, right? Something that's really hard to see, very poor. It means it's not seeing the contrast that you should have. Now, why is this useful? Well, this is actually a super cool tool if you are looking to do like freehand work. If you want to write words or symbols or numbers and paint them onto your miniature, you need to have the proper contrast. They have to pop. So let's go with the background color. Let's say we wanted to have some blood angels. I kind of like this slightly. There we go. We'll go with, there we go. We'll go with that. We want to have our words pop, so we don't want to use that color. It's fine when it's the large text, but it's not so great otherwise. And so we want a color that is going to pop really, really strongly. And so you can just play around with these things and really make them pop. You'll see a lot of Blood Angels players put black on red. It is not the easiest thing to read. And we can move over to blue, and you can just get a sense of what is good at, you know, you can pick around with the hue and stuff like that. Again, it's just a tool for if you want to freehand stuff, which I don't typically do. So let's see, adjust the text to the color. There we go. Red is a hard color apparently to write on, just so you know. Now, last things to notice here is that they do have an app. You can add it on to your Adobe suite if you already own that. And there is a Chrome extension. So if you go to a web page that you like and you want to copy the scheme from that page, you can do that very, very easily through your Chrome extension here. So it's very cool. There's a lot of uses for it. And it just really helps, I guess, put color in perspective for me. That, I don't know, it's a great tool. So anyway, that's it for this video. The links for those things are down below. Keep in mind the painting guide that I put up there, where it has like the list of miniature paints and kind of their hex numbers. It's not always the most exact, and they don't always translate. So for example, it's hard to find the exact kind of red in the Coolors website that is Mephiston red, but if you work together with those two sites in tandem, you can figure out a really good color scheme. So what I would suggest you do, and this is kind of my closing thoughts, is decide on the main color of your army, right? I want blue Stormcast, I want purple Space Marines, whatever. Decide on that, pick your main paint that you really like, what color paint really speaks to you. Go to that the second site, get the hex number for that paint, go to Coolors, and then build a palette around that. I think that is probably the best way to do it. It ensures that the bulk of your miniature will be painted with a paint that you love, the color you chose, and that everything is really based around that in a meaningful way. From there, the sky is the limit, because you can do all kinds of weathering effects that add other kinds of hues and tones in there and kind of refresh it a bit. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on this. If this helped you out at all, leave in the comments down below. I have fallen in love with this. It's how I'm going to be painting some of my Conquest stuff now that my Dweck home is built. And so we're going to be having a great time with that. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you learned something and got something out of this. I'll catch you next time. Happy wargaming.